Hi, today we're gonna solve Sudoku using various techniques. Mostly these three. Last possible number, obvious singles, and obvious pairs. Now there are also um obvious triples, which you can also use, but bear in mind that the chances you have of like having to use it at some point are pretty rare. It's a pretty rare occurrence. Anyway, essentially these three are your holy trinity. So let's turn on autocandidate mode. Now, what I personally do, I'm gonna mostly be talking about myself and how I specifically do it. What I personally do is I look for obvious singles first. So, obvious singles is a technique based on your candidates. And it says this strategy is based on the correct placement of notes. Sometimes it is called naked singles. I'm not calling it that. The point is that in a specific cell, only one digit from the notes remains possible. For example, as you can see in this image, in this middle bottom block, this one cell, the only possible candidate is 2. So that's where you write 2. Because if you did not write 2, then 2 can't go anywhere else. So if we return to our Sudoku game and use obvious singles, for example, in this block, this cell, as you can see, the only possible candidate is free. So that's where I will put a free. And now a bunch of other stuff has automatically cleared up as well. Um, and yeah, it seems there are no other obvious singles at the moment, so let's move on to the technique I use second, which is last possible number. If it will load, that is. Okay, so last possible number is a simple strategy that is suitable for beginners. It is based on finding the missing number. To find a missing number, you should take a look at the numbers that are already existing in the free by free block you are interested in and in the rows and columns connected with it. So in this example, 246 in the block, 189 on this cell's associated column, and 3 and 7 on this cell's associated row. So the only possible solution left is to place 5 here. Now you can do this, or you can also do what I like to do, which is you look at the candidates in a certain block. For example, this block here, right? If we take a look at the notes, you will see that in this example, 8 is only possible in this one singular cell. So because it can't go anywhere else, this is where I will place an 8. Okay? And now you just like repeat that same formula with the other blocks whenever you can. As another example, in this block, you can see here that 9 is only a candidate in this cell. 9 cannot be seen in any other cell. So, this is where you would place a 9, because it physically cannot go anywhere else. Now, bear in mind, again, that this strategy does also work for rows and columns. I'm guilty of not really taking those into account when I play Sudoku, honestly. I mostly focus on the blocks rather than rows and columns, but that is also a possibility. For example, on this row here where I just placed the 9, if you look at the candidates, you will see that 7 on this row is only a candidate in this specific cell, so this is where you place a 7. Because, again, bear in mind, basic Sudoku rules is that you need every single number appearing only once in every block, row, and column. So, regardless of if there are other places here where 7 could be, you focus on the row or column where it only appears once, and that's where you place it. Now again, if we take a look at this block, you will see that last possible number, I guess it would be, or some form of obvious singles. 8 is only possible in this specific cell, so that's where I will place an 8. In this block, 7 is only an option in this cell, so that's where I will place a 7. In this row, 9 is only an option in this cell, so that's where I will place a 9. Disregard any other places it could have been. And again, remember that if you get stuck at any point and don't know what to do, if you are in a block where there are cells that have like repeated candidates, for example, this one, where it has 5, 3, 7, 9 twice, then you can just like tap on one of those and reveal cell, and sometimes it'll help a great deal. Now, because of that, we can essentially complete this entire block. Obvious singles again in this cell, where the only possible option is 1, so that's where you place it. Even though it was also a possible candidate in other cells, in this specific cell it was the only candidate, so that's where it belongs. And with this specific column, here is the only cell that has 7 as an option, and here is the only cell that has 1 as an option. So we will place 7 and 1 there respectively, because again, every single number needs to appear at least once. Exactly once, I mean. They all need to appear exactly once in every block, row, and column. Which, again, I tend to forget the row and column part, but it's fine. So again, regarding reveal cell, I usually use it when there are like these pairs. For example, 5, 6 here and 5, 6 also here. Or like 4, 6, 9 here and 4, 6, 9 also here. I tend to use it in like one of those types of cells. Because it frustrates me to no end when there are pairs like that. So if you also get frustrated with that, use reveal cell. Sometimes it doesn't help all that much, but sometimes it does help a lot. One more example for this. As you can see, in this block, 8 could go either here or here. But on this specific row, as you can see, 8 only appears once, and it's here, so that's where you place it. And then the other 8 on this row, because it could have been here or here, but because we placed it here, that means it's going over there. And look at that, I am now actively solving the Sudoku. That was a misclick. Again. And using just those free techniques, we have solved the Sudoku in apparently 11 minutes, but that's because most of my time was spent explaining. In reality, it would have taken for me around 3 minutes or so. Now, I could probably show you how obvious pairs works in the hard Sudoku. Here we're already starting off with obvious singles, which is pretty good for us. Okay, yeah. So if we look at this block here, we can use obvious pairs, which is kind of like obvious singles. The point is that you should find 2 cells with the same pairs of notes within a 3x3 block. This means that these pairs of notes cannot be used in other cells within this 3x3 block, so they can be removed from your notes. So in this example, as you can see here, there are 2 cells that have the exact same pair, no other added numbers, the exact same pair of 7 and 9, 7 and 9. So, of course, if you're in auto candidate mode, the removal of these notes from the other cells won't be done for you. You have to do it mentally. Uh, but if there is a pair like this, then these two numbers, whatever they are, can be removed as possibilities from any other cell. So in this example, this would leave 6 here and 4 here. Now, for our actual game, in this block, you'll see that we do have a pair. We have 4, 8 here and 4, 8 also here. So we can like mentally remove those as possibilities from the other cells. For this one in particular, we pretend the 4 and 8 aren't there, so the only possible one left is 7. So we'll place a 7. For this one, we pretend the 4 and 8 aren't here. We have 1 and 3. 3 doesn't appear as a possibility anywhere else, so that's where we will place it. So again, you like find one of these pairs and you like mentally remove it from any other cell within that block as a possibility. Now, you can also reveal cells pretty much at random, however the hell you want. I like to do that for fun sometimes. I just kind of like reveal like around 4 random cells, but still kind of like arranged in a circle and all of that. Like I literally just tap randomly and then tap reveal cell. But yeah, sometimes it really does help somehow. It really does come in clutch. See, look at that. We have solved the hard Sudoku in nearly 4 minutes. Now, I couldn't find an example there to show you obvious triples, so we are just gonna have to look at the website. Obvious triples is kind of like obvious pairs, but not exactly. In this example, as you can see here, you need to be clear. You don't need 2 cells with the same free numbers. You need free cells that only have 2 numbers that are somehow in common. Like you need free pairs. In this example, 1 5, 1 8, 5 8. As another example, 1 2, 2 7, 1 7. Or 3 6, 6 9, 3 9. Funny number. So again, this is a pretty rare thing to encounter. So you would have to peel your eyes for it, but at the same time, there isn't like a very high chance that something like this will even occur in the first place. But if it does happen, then again, you mentally remove these 3 numbers from any other cell. And then, for example, you would be left here with a 6 because it cannot go anywhere else. So a lot of these techniques are interlinked. You know, it's a little bit hard because you sometimes do have to use multiple techniques at the same time, like one right after the other. But if you figure out how to do that, then your Sudoku games will essentially breeze right by.